Welcome to A Gay and a Non-Gay. I'm James Barr. I'm gay.
Yes, I'm Dan Hudson, and I am non-gay.
I hate non-gays. Dan was just dansplaining.
Yeah.
My new favourite word.
Yeah.
Headphoning to us. By the way, we have a guest on our show today. We'll introduce them in a second.
Yeah.
So, hang on. Headphoning.
Yeah.
Right, just to explain it again.
So it's when you're having it's not a difficult concept, really.
So when you're pleasuring yourself.
Yeah, and you've got headphones on.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the residents of your shared accommodation or whatever
to know.
To hear it, yeah.
To hear. But, okay, so what shocked me about this bright light, is that Dan listens to the soundtrack of porn. I don't have the volume on ever. Do you?
I have once in a while had the volume on if it's like a porn star that I really like.
Right.
So I have headphones
to hear the dialogue.
Yeah, but it's often just so fascinating, you know?
It's not just dialogue, but it's atmosphere.
I honestly always have it on mute.
Well, you're missing out.
I feel like I've missed half the picture. It's like I've just discovered colour
Imagine
TV.
you've now got like a whole new world.
There's only like a few where they're really funny that I would listen to it with the sound on.
Mm-hmm.
Like where there's a girl showing someone around the house and the guy's getting done from behind in the kitchen through the hole and she doesn't realise, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in general, I never listen to it with the sound on.
But you would have never heard like, what, right in front of my salad?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have heard that line. You would have missed it and you'd be like,
That
what
is
is
the
everyone
video,
talking
isn't it?
about? The salad.
That is the video.
That's the video, yeah. I love it.
I love that video. And maybe it's not an estate agent. I'm shocked that you've seen that too.
It's like iconic. It's
That is
absolutely
such
iconic.
good, but you have to watch that one.
What
I know it's gay
happens?
porn,
They're
but it's
having
great.
Gay sex in front of a salad. Is that the?
It's like it's like a husband and then some, I don't know, handyman or twink or
Right.
brother or
Who
son or
knows?
something like that.
Uncle.
They end up having sex.
Stepdad.
And the wife comes back into frame and it's in the kitchen and she's like, oh, right in front of my salad?
I do feel like I want to watch that.
It's amazing.
Right in front of my salad. It's so good.
It's amazing.
Oh my god, it's so iconic. But anyway, other than that, no, I never have the sound on. So headphoning is a whole new concept to me.
Wow.
I shall do that.
Every day's a school day. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, bright light.
Thank you for having me. What a explosive, no pun intended, intro.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's
how
how
we
we
roll.
love it.
I mean, I do listen to the podcast quite religiously, so I'm aware of the tone.
Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Well, Bright Light, aka Rod, actually wrote our theme tune.
Yes. Oh my god, we haven't even talked about that really.
Which
It just
also
sort of-
feels like 700 years ago now.
I know, but we love it. It started as a YMCA knockoff, and then it's become Padam.
Yes.
There's a Padam version.
Padan.
Listeners,
Oh,
Padam. Great. Why did we not get?
Yeah, I
why
don't
did we
know.
not get
I don't
merch
know.
made?
Yeah, why did
That
we
would
not
have
do
been.
that?
That would have. Well, we might have been
Wow.
sued by
Of all
Kylie.
the time I spent thinking of puns as well, I never came up with that one.
It's been out long enough now that you might not get sued, so maybe we can do like a second wave of like, you know,
Yeah.
for your
Yeah.
OnlyFans or something.
Perhaps. Although
Yeah.
Kylie did just greet a fan wearing a
She
Padam
did.
t-shirt.
That was fab.
Imagine if she saw you outside her car and it said Padan, but she didn't realise till you got there. That would be
She'd
really
like,
upsetting.
Window rolls up.
Yeah, that's Celine Dion me. Well, welcome. On your album, I Love Boys, etc.
Thank you.
That's one of my faves. Do you feel, I don't actually know where your love life's at the minute, but do you feel like you have to be your own boyfriend?
Yes, I think you do. I think a lot of people feel like that. I found it really hard dating somebody like during and post COVID when I was trying to put myself back together. And I feel like the line, do I have to be my own boyfriend, is a bit like camp and throwaway, but I feel like I did have to like look after myself and just prioritize myself a bit in a way that I've never really done before. And it was quite freeing to be like, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship. I'm actually looking for just like fun and sex and great people versus like a partner, which has, you know, like in your 20s, you're quite focused on that, or I was, and a lot of people tend to be. So now it's just about like putting yourself first and anything else that comes is a bonus.
That is exactly where I am
Yeah,
at the
good.
moment. I wonder if that is because we're similar ages or just because it's
Maybe. Like I've been
the
following
post-COVID thing.
your comedy talking about that as well. And it is quite nice to hear people talking about being in that space because there's a lot of focus in media. It's like dating app, program about dating, program about matchmaking, this and this and that, and this
Right.
couple and that couple.
But it's a lie to me.
Yes.
I mean, I've obviously had a really traumatic time with
Yeah.
an ex, but I think love is a bit of a lie. Like all of those dating shows, they're not the answer.
No.
And the world tells us that that's the answer, but that isn't the answer. The answer is, as you just rightly said, it's like self-love,
Yeah.
putting yourself first and then having fun around that. And if you meet
Yeah.
someone that's amazing and fits with you, great. And if not, fuck it.
Yeah, I think you have to be comfortable with yourself to be able to meet the right person, you know, which like a lot of my friends who are in like successful relationships is because they weren't like going out on the hunt for something. They were like happy with themselves and they just happened to meet the right person at the right time. And as a single gay man, especially, you forget that because there's so much about like the apps and the chasing and the dating and the, you know, the sex, and it all gets a bit muddied up. For the first time in my life, I freed myself from that, and it's been very liberating.
Yeah.
You know?
How is that? Like, what does that look like?
It just looks like...
Because just to pick up on what you said, like, I keep thinking people I regularly hook up with, I don't know, like, I still get that weird jealousy where if I see them with someone else, which is stupid because I know that's actually just a reaction rather than an actual thought. Yes,
there's that as well. That is hard to navigate, I think, because I don't know what it's like with a lot of straight people. I know there's no, not in like a derogatory way, non-derogatory parentheses, but sort of monogamy is much less of a norm in queer spaces traditionally.
Yeah.
And so you're partly accustomed to being less monogamous, but also not really sort of media trained in non-monogamy either. So you still have the sort of jealousy and slight awkwardness if somebody that you hook up with regularly is hooking up with like a friend, for example.
Right.
And that then for me, that blurs the line a little bit where I'm like, oh, so they're also hooking up with my friend, which means that our intimacy is now somewhere in their mix as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of prefer not to cross swords with friends and lovers.
I do.
Unless it's friends that I sleep with.
Right, but that's what's so confusing because why does that matter? Because I've been wrestling with that exact issue recently where a friend of mine who I don't hook up with has hooked up with someone that I regularly hook up with.
Yes.
And so now I'm in this weird love triangle, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's like but it's friendship, right?
It is.
So I don't know.
I find it less weird when it's two people that I do hook up with hooking up with each other. That doesn't faze me.
Yeah, of
for
course
some
not, 'cause
reason.
then sometimes you'll be there too.
Yeah, but then when it's someone who I'm really close with that I don't hook up with hooks up with somebody that I do hook up with, for
Right.
some reason that sets off a little alarm bell in my head.
Yeah.
And there's truly no good reason for that other
Yeah.
than like maybe my own insecurities or
Are you worried that one of them might discuss your technique or whatever?
maybe, you know.
Yeah, maybe it's that.
Maybe
or
it's
maybe
that.
they prefer the other person.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of puts you as competition then, which I don't
Right.
feel like I am if I'm sleeping with them both. Because then
Yeah.
it feels like an even playing field.
But then do you also think, why am I not sleeping with my friend?
Sometimes, yeah.
Like, a lot of the time for me, it's because they were a friend before I
Yeah.
was freer. So therefore, the boundary's never been crossed. And I
Yeah.
sort of like that
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? I like that being a completely...
Yes.
what's the word for...
Platonic.
Thank you.
Tectonic.
Literally so far away from me, I can't even remember the word. Yeah, like that. I like that being platonic, but then I question it, and I'm like, what if I met them now? I probably would sleep with them. So
Yeah.
what's that about? That's also strange, right?
Yeah, I think my like journey since, you know, dating and COVID and whatever has been finding ways to sort of make peace with sexual or non-sexual relationships and not worry about it as much.
Right.
So I've always been somebody that's worried a lot about things, whether that's been like job or music or career, friendships, sexual relationships, and I'm in a much more like free space, but I'm not used to being a non-worrier. So I think that's what I struggle with in it all. I'm not used to not worrying about relationships and friends. So when there's nothing to worry about, my brain is like, huh? And I think maybe that's why I go back, you know.
You need something. Well,
Yeah.
we do all need something to worry about. That's how we're programmed, isn't it?
Well, luckily there is gestures at the world.
What do you think of the differences between, and we've touched on this a little bit, but what do you think of the differences between London and New York dating? Because you now live in New York full
Yeah.
time, but you're from Wales and you've lived in London.
I don't know if this is going to be controversial, but I felt a lot less judged for not doing drugs in New York. I don't do drugs. I'm not interested in them. I don't care if people do them. I just don't personally want to. And I felt like a lot of people were weird about that when I lived in London.
Really?
Yeah, they made me feel like I was really boring. I don't think it's quite like that now, but at the time, I just felt like I was really looked down on.
Wow.
For just being like really square and really boring. And I thought that was so strange because I was still out at the same time as everyone else. I was still out at 6 a.m. dancing and DJing and stuff. But there was a really like a noticeable like look on someone's face change when I said no or I wasn't interested. And it just made me feel really like a loser.
Gosh.
So I just kind of lost interest in really pursuing any kind of dating in London. And in New York, I don't know, people were just a bit more like easy breezy. And maybe it's to do with the fact that like in New York, there are lots of different areas which each have lots of different bars, LGBTQ plus spaces. Plus then you've got all the apps and stuff. So there's like a much more like changing pool of people. Whereas in London, we were all going to the same places every week. Back in 2012 when I left, it was like the George, the Nelsons and the Joiners. So you'd kind of see the same sort of people. And the dating pool felt small, weirdly, even though it's not. There's like millions of people in London. But I found it a little bit easier to be myself and be not ashamed of who I was in New York, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, but I think it's actually...
Well, heartbreak feels good in a place like this, James. So
we're honestly, okay. I get it. When a guy is into you and he asks you if you want to do a bump or whatever and you don't, that's almost like a rejection for them. And they will then almost like not be interested in you.
Because you're not at the same...
Because you're not going to the same level. And I think that probably, if we take out the drugs from that and look at what really is going on, maybe, and I was trying to process this when you were speaking, so I'm making it up as I go along, maybe it's because we haven't done as much work on ourselves. Like in America, therapy is a lot more normal.
People do go to therapy a lot more. It costs a lot, but they do.
It costs a lot here.
A lot of people will just talk about going to therapy in America. And I hadn't really heard anyone doing it. I feel like people were ashamed of saying they went to therapy in London before I left. And it's changed now for sure. But it was like a kind of, there's nothing wrong with me. And seeing therapy as like a really negative thing. Yeah. Like you needed... like you were failing versus actually succeeding by doing work on yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that might be it. I think there's a level of shame that sometimes we haven't dealt with, and if we're in that and someone else isn't coming down to our level, if they're not being dragged down with us, not that taking drugs is always dragging down.
Or going up with you.
Yeah,
you know?
like it can feel like, why do you think you're better than me? With alcohol especially, I've noticed it. It's like, why do you think you're better than me that you're not drinking? What's wrong with you?
I really feel for people who are choosing not to drink alcohol or have become sober in queer spaces, because the emphasis is on drink steals, getting drinks, shots, everyone drinks. Drinking is the norm, and there are not many spaces where people feel like they don't need to drink if they go out, or if they don't drink, they don't get judged for it or looked at weird, I have a lot of friends who don't drink, some because they've gone through rehab and some because they just really don't care about drinking. And their struggles with like finding nightlife where they don't feel like, oh my God, now all anyone's talking about is drink, or all I can see is alcohol everywhere, or just everyone's too wasted. It's difficult,
Yeah. Well, part of it in the UK is because everyone does rounds and stuff.
Yeah.
If it's not your round, if someone else is getting around and you kind of
have to then.
Well, yeah, I can't mess.
I just feel like there's.
Can't mess the system up, and also if it's someone who's tight and they're finally getting around it, it's like, well, I'm definitely gonna, get. Whereas in America, you don't do rounds; you just split the bill pretty much, don't you? And it's
to me, I think it all comes down to the fact that, and apologies, the UK is just so full of bullshit. Like, and it's not our fault, but we just grow up with all this pressure, probably dating back to like the Victorian times, where we have to do things a certain way, and we're sort of taught this law of the land, which is absolutely irrelevant, really. And I think America is a bit more like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's like land of the free, just make money and go for it. Whereas here it's like, look after each other, make sure you're all on the same page.
Which is nice to a point, but there's definitely
it doesn't work when it comes to drugs and alcohol.
Exactly.
Because then everyone's getting swept up in this craziness that's just so unnecessary.
Yeah. So those things I think are a bit of like a wild topic in the community, and there's a lot of discourse online about drug use and alcohol abuse, and I don't think it has to be just abuse or overuse. I think like casual use of these things as well does for a lot of people create some kind of like boundary, and that's understandable, but it's also a shame. It's just trying to work out where you fit and what you're comfortable with, and I think you should just always be very honest about what you're comfortable with, and whoever comes to the table with that is probably your person.
Do you think it's possible to find love in a gay world? Because you said you have friends that are in good relationships, but I find that we all have so much trauma that we're just bouncing off each other.
I think I have redefined what I think about love means to me. So I think that there's lots of friends that I really, really love, but I'm not in love with. And there's lots of people that I sleep with that I really love, but I'm not in love with. I haven't been in love for a very long time, but I have been in love. So I do believe that it exists, but I think it's very hard to find. And I think that the focus on finding like that kind of love only is quite hard. And that's what makes people feel very, very alone. You know, because you see people talk about like, oh, I'm so in love with my partner and we're getting married and like it's the love of my life. I don't think that meeting either like the love of your life is very easy, but you might also meet like 5 loves of your life who you like kind of equally or for different reasons. And so I think like my perception of what love, quote unquote, is very different from what it was like 5 years ago.
All right. On that note,
Dan's like, cool, yeah, whatever, bro.
Well, I don't. Yeah, no, that's interesting.
You have no follow-up question.
It's not really my world, is it? Like, because
I think that's universal to straight people, gay
Is
people, any person.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's less talked about in heterosexual relationships, maybe.
Yeah.
But like maybe because the you know, it's more defined whether you're a friend or a sexual partner with somebody. It's like less often that you have like a fuck buddy that you're really good friends with.
So that's probably
when you're straight.
No, this isn't Dan I'm talking about. But that's probably because straight men are so fucking scary.
Yeah,
so
they are very scary.
That's quite a hard relationship to nurture, maybe.
Well, also like it's the friends that I've got who have slept with other friends that are mine. It's just messy, isn't it?
Yeah, so it can get very messy. Yeah.
So it is just I do think there is some merit in like keeping all of this like separate and not banging your mates. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh, no, totally. No, that's what I was saying. Like, you know, earlier, it does get very difficult when the lines are blurred somewhat because then you kind of like run the risk of being like, oh, well, should we date or shouldn't we?
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, it can be very messy. I think like, yeah, it's a difficult world to navigate. I think we are more used to navigating that just because, you know, we didn't have as many options. And then we had like a billion options. And so naturally you kind of like meet people and you work out kind of by trial and error whether you're a good fit with each other or not. But sometimes the sex is good and you're fine enough that you're not romantic partners and that can continue. Yeah. Sometimes that works. But it is very tricky.
But even taking the sex out, Dan, I think Rod's answer about love and friendship is the answer to everything. Like, you love your friends, you love your family, you love... There's love everywhere, really. You just have to look for it and grow it.
Yeah, but I suppose the point that you're making, Rod, is that like romantic love is what is prioritized by the world, right?
Yeah. In songs, in media, in books, in films and everything, you know, there's always like, oh, will they get together in the end?
Yeah.
You know, and like that is like the focus of everything. And it's like, it doesn't always have to be.
And how's Elton John? Because I know you're friends.
He's fabulous. Yes, he's good. We spoke the other week. He's busy as hell. Oh my God.
He's somehow in touch with every single musician I've ever met.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. I don't know how he does that.
I don't know either.
Does he just have a schedule every week and he brings people up?
He just calls people, yeah. Like, was it last year or the year before? I went to see him in his house in LA. And I just happened to be there when he was there and he had an afternoon off. So I just popped over for coffee. And he was just showing me all these artists that he was listening to that I hadn't heard of. And was like playing me YouTube videos and be like, oh, have you seen this song? And like, you know, he's just such a music fan that he's always looking at new people and following what they're doing. And very few people in the world do that.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that at like his age and his schedule and his like legacy that he's still so excited about like little people like me.
I also love that he was rehabilitating Britney Spears when he brought out a song for her, and then he did promo for Britney's remix.
Yeah.
I mean, Elton John doing promo for you. That's crazy.
It's absolutely wild. The only reason I got to go on Graham Norton is because he came on the show with me, you know, truly. And he knew that that was the case. And he was like, yep, I'll make it happen. And came on with me. He's great. He's hilarious. What an absolute like icon.
I am a huge fan of this performer. Tonight he is making his TV debut alongside a very special friend and mentor. Performing the single All in the Name, please welcome Bright Light, and Sir Elton John!
We need more people like that in the world.
We do. And a lot of people have the power to do what he does and they don't choose to do that.
Yeah.
Or maybe don't think to, you know? It's an active thought. There's like passive support to people and there's active support, and he's really on the like active, what can I do, how can I help thing.
And you shouldn't be ashamed to ask for help. Like,
no,
I'm learning that with my new Edinburgh show, like, and I'm not asking enough, but it's so powerful when you ask someone for help. They want to help normally, but we're often so afraid to do so. To ask for help, and that's not even just down to like shows or career stuff. That's just down to like you as a person. Like ask for help if you need it. People will want to help you.
Growing up in the UK, you're told to be quite like humble and very like ashamed of asking for help. You know, in every aspect of life, therapy, money, support, sharing stuff, and also what people don't remember is that like the algorithm is set up in such a weird way that your friends probably don't even see half the stuff you post.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to our podcast today, and if you are listening, please do everything that Rod just said.
Like, share, subscribe.
Just I mean,
sleep with your friends,
and ask us to share whatever you need as well, and we'll share it, especially if you're listening and you've got a queer business or you're in our space. Like, we'll support you. Non-gays as well, I guess. Sorry.
I do a monthly playlist on Spotify, which is all LGBTQ plus creators, and there's a submit button on the playlist. It's called How Queer! ! And I do try and champion sort of like unsigned or people with like fewer plays than other playlists have, and there are some awesome people on there. So if you want to send me a message there, send me your songs, I'll listen to them as soon as I can.
That's so cute of you. And if you want to come see me in Edinburgh, jamesbarcomedy.com.
So exciting. So exciting.
Hilarious. Anything you want to plug, Dan?
Not right now, no.
Please listen to Enjoy Youth, Bright Light, Bright Light. It's an amazing album, such a fun vibe, and congratulations on the success of it. Thank you for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And now, should we play in full the Again and Non-Gay theme tune?
Yeah, shall we? In full. Which one, though? We have so many.
Oh, yeah, we do have...
I think Padam is my favourite.
Yeah.
Let's do the Padam one.
I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
Oh, my God. I can't remember, but it was a really good reference.
Oh, it was Rihanna.
Yes, it was.
And it was, was it S&M?
Diamonds.
Diamonds, yes. Because we needed something like chill for when we're talking about
dramatic
sad shit.
Though as well.
Yeah, well, maybe we should play the Diamonds one. That is probably the most beautiful.
One,
All right, do you
Make
want
us feel expensive.
Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, this is the Gay and Non-Gay, not at all modelled on Rihanna version of their iconic theme, which I wrote when I was drunk in my bedroom in New York.
Love you, Rod. Thank you for being here.
Love you so much.
See you later.